Chapter 22. 7. Good. Titus 2, 4, 5. That they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good. A good woman is genuine, joyful, virtuous, valuable, competent, ready, kind, benevolent, merciful, hardworking, agreeable, pleasant, congenial, honorable, faithful, gracious, and wise. Good is as good does. James Hamilton describes goodness like this. Goodness is love in action. Love with the burden on its back. Goodness is love carrying medicine to the sick, food for the famished. Goodness is love reading the Bible to the blind and explaining the gospel to the felon in a cell. Goodness is love to the Sunday school class, or in the school, or on the away from home mission assignment. Wherever and whatever, still the same love, following his footsteps who went about continually doing good. Hamilton's words are formed around the admonition found in Titus 3:14. And let ours also learn to maintain good works for necessary use, that they may be not unfruitful. The crown. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. A good woman is a crown to her husband. She can make a mediocre man be as honored as one wearing a crown. A good woman might be married to a man who is lazy, or just does not make much money, yet because she is a wise shopper and does not waste her time or their money foolishly by eating out or indulging in expensive entertainment, and because she is a keeper at home, she makes his little money go a long ways. As a result, he appears wiser and wealthier than he really is, and is looked upon with honor because of it. A good woman may be married to a man who is not an attentive father or a patient child trainer, yet the good wife never shows dishonor to him, and she trains the children to be obedient and resourceful. When people see their children, they assume that the father must be a good man to have such fine children. A good woman could be married to a man who is a poor example of a father and husband. He may be selfish and self-centered, possibly not even honest, yet because she is submissive and honoring towards him, he treats her with kindness. People look at their relationship and think he must be a good man since he has a good woman and because they seem happy together. By now you are likely saying, why should she carry the load and make a lazy, impatient, selfish man look good? Why should she not? By being a crown to her husband, she is raising children who will rise up and call her blessed. By the time they are teens, they will know their dad is something much less than he should be, but they will honor him because of the example of their mother. By being a crown to her husband, she is winning his love and appreciation. Thus she gets treated much better than if she stood against him. And by being a prudent woman in how she uses the meager funds given to her, she is gaining a comfortable place to raise her family. In the final analysis, she is doing exactly what God says will cause her husband to come to God, and most of all, she is bringing honor to God by fulfilling her calling as a helpmeet. In the end, people who know her will know the truth. The ball and chain woman. But she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones. A ball and chain woman is one who spends her husband's modest wages, $5 here and $10 there, on things of no permanence. At the end of the day, she is too tired to cook, or there is nothing in the house to eat, so she wants to eat out. There just never seems to be enough money to get ahead. He appears to be a poor man, and she makes him feel the lack of every penny. He gets discouraged easily, because no matter how much he makes, it never seems to stretch far enough. When it appears that they might be getting ahead a little, a vacation or new furniture that she buys eat up their reserve. Others often look upon him as a loser. Rather than being a crown to him, she brings him shame and is rottenness to his bones. A ball and chain woman can also be married to a man who is an attentive father and a patient child trainer, yet, because she wants to run around during the day while he is working, his children are left behind with the babysitter. God's word is blasphemed because she, not being a keeper at home, allows bad seed to be sown in her children, which will reap a bitter harvest for them both. When the children go bad, people will say, Well, he sure didn't do something right. This wife will also bring shame and great sadness on her husband. Ball and chain, ball and chain, ball and chain, dragging him back every good step he takes forward. Some ball and chain women are married to honest men of high integrity, yet because their wives use other people's time or resources in an irresponsible manner, neither of them are highly regarded. The man is judged by his wife's actions, yet a woman is seldom looked down upon because of her husband's actions. He knows something is wrong, and he spends his life repairing broken images and relationships and never moves forward. He loves her, yet she is rottenness in his bones. Although a good woman can lift up a poor husband, a good man cannot make up for the deficits of a poor wife and create a family with a good reputation. A man married to such a wife usually becomes a lifetime loser. At first he has hope, but over time, deep down in his bones, he feels the rottenness and despair consumes all his hopes. Right in the line, lady. I admit that I buy prepared foods that are expensive and not healthful for us, but at least we don't eat out all the time. I don't run around leaving our children at sitters, but I do sit them down in front of the video now and then while I read a romance novel instead of investing that time teaching them how to cook or make doll clothes. A child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. I would not dare be dishonest, and I think it is wrong for people to accuse me of wasting my time gabbing on the phone or sitting in front of the computer. A good woman is prudent. God tells us in Proverbs 19:14, and a prudent wife is from the Lord. Dear Mrs. Pearl, I am so tired and discouraged. I feel as though my husband just doesn't love me or care for his family as he should. The house is falling apart. The yard is full of trash. The last straw is that the sink is leaking so badly that the floor under the sink always stays wet. He is quick to help anyone who calls for help, but to get anything done around here is impossible. Last night we had a big fight because of the screen door. It has a big hole in it that I asked him to fix months ago, and it is still not fixed. Then some old lady called and needed her car started, and he up and left to help her. What is wrong with him? Why can't he see his family should be first? What should I do? Vicky. Dear Vicky, before I answer your question, I want you to take the following test. A standard dumb cluck test. Does natural healing not grab your attention? Have you neglected to check out what vaccinations might do to your children's health? Have you considered what store-bought prepared cereal has in it? Do finances and business matters confuse or bore you? Are you satisfied with knowing who's who in Hollywood, but really don't care a fig's worth who is deciding the fate of your children's future in world events? Do you love fiction romance or find books that will teach you a practical knowledge a drag? Have you ever checked the oil in your car? Can you use a hammer, saw, tape measure, and screwdriver? Well, are you a dumb cluck? You might be asking what that has to do with your lazy husband more than you think. Vicky, you asked me, what should I do? You should get off your easy chair and learn to do a thing or two. A good woman should be able to fix a screen door. Plumbing is not so hard either. I have fixed several broken pipes in the dead of winter and replaced at least 2 toilets. There are some good books at the library that you will find helpful for these things. If a man can do it, why can't a woman? It doesn't take a great strength. You are the keeper of the home, are you not? The yard is certainly not his job. Get off the couch, go outside with the children, and start cleaning the yard. You will be shocked at how much good training the children will acquire, and he will appreciate you when you show some initiative. Furthermore, you are missing many great opportunities to teach the children some practical skills, as well as to provide them with character-building experience. Do the home projects one at a time, discussing each step with the children. Let them do what they are capable of. Have fun doing it. A man works all day long and comes home to a messy yard, dirty house, leaky faucet, and a lazy, complaining wife. He sees so much that needs to be done, and just feels overwhelmed that he is apparently carrying the whole load himself. He feels as though he became a slave when he married. He doesn't have a helpmeet pulling her share of the load. He has a cranky, demanding leech sucking him dry. So when a call comes from the little old lady in distress, of course he will drop everything and run. She will smile sweetly at him and tell him how much he is appreciated. When he gets her car running again, it will be a job finished, and he will feel good about himself. If he stayed at home and fixed the screen, the faucet would still be leaking, and you would still be unhappy. He was not created to be your servant. You were created to be his helper. So get to it. Learn to make yourself useful. I have found that when there is a job too big for me, if I at least start it, my husband will see that I am in over my head and will step in and finish the job. Then I can brag on how smart he is, and he doesn't even realize that I just inspired him. Debi. A good woman is crowned with knowledge. A good woman has a lot to offer the marriage. A man is wiser and more successful in his endeavors because his wife has a great deal of informational resources and a lot of hard work to add to the mix. God tells us that a prudent wife is from him. The simple inherent folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. Prudence is growing in knowledge. It is making an effort to learn something new and using that information or skill, whether you enjoy the new skill or not. God describes the prudent when he writes to us in Proverbs 18:15, "The heart of the prudent getteth knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge. The wise in heart shall be called prudent, and the sweetness of the lips increaseth learning." I love that phrase, the wise in heart. We have already studied wisdom, and we know that wisdom starts with fearing God in regard to the consequences of our actions. Fear causes us to pay attention to what God says, knowing that he is quite serious in his blessings and his cursings. God is pleased with our learning. He calls it being prudent. Learning how to cook healthy, low-cost meals is a prudent thing and would certainly qualify us as a good woman. For us to learn how to bring natural healing to our children instead of taking them to the doctor, which would mean high medical bills and unnecessary risk as well, would be a prudent thing to learn and would also make us a good woman. A good woman is a prudent woman. Consider this. A prudent wife is not dumb. A prudent wife is not lazy. A prudent wife does not waste her time. A prudent wife is a learner. Men value hard-working women who are eager to learn how to do new things. No man wants to be saddled with a slow, incompetent wife. I have often heard my sons and their friends talking about what they want in a wife. They all agree they do not want to marry a high-maintenance chick. No young man wants to marry a lazy, visiting, gotta-eat-out gal. All men agree on this one point. A good woman is a helper, not a hindrance. A helpmeet works, learns, and helps with the daily tasks of life. When a man gets home from work, there should be an obvious, visible, tangible difference in his house, his children, his food, and even his income, which he has helped generate. He knows his lady makes things happen, gets things done, and is not just a sweep the floor and wash the dishes gal. She is a true entrepreneur and initiator. Perhaps you have heard a man say on occasion about some other man's wife, "He's got a good woman." If you ask that man to define the woman he's referring to as good, he would be describing a Proverbs 31 woman. It is a general blueprint to how a woman seeking to honor God should fashion her life. It is the kind of woman a man most admires. Chapter 23, Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31:10. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. Key words: far above, rare, uncommon, unusually excellent, unique, precious, matchless. A good woman is virtuous. Proverbs 31 is a record of a king reflecting back on some important things that his mothers taught him. He called this wisdom. The prophecy that his mother taught him. His mother admonished him to refrain from certain lewd women. She warned him of the evil of the use of alcohol and how it would pervert the king's judgment. She encouraged him to speak for the man who cannot speak for himself, and to plead the case for the poor and the needy. Then his mother expressed her concerns that he finds a good woman for a wife. She started by telling him that a virtuous woman is rare and precious, and so he would know what to look for. She described at length how a really good woman spends her time and what she gets accomplished. It was as if she was telling her son, who would soon be king, "You will know her, son, by what she does. A good woman is a doing woman." All the key words in Proverbs 31 are action words. She is a creative merchant. She is a worker. Almost every verse describes daily chores or new, enterprising tasks she is involved in. No one, not even her enemy, would call this woman lazy or slothful. She is diligent in her work, both when it is convenient and when she does not feel like working. In the end, it is this woman's work that speaks for her worth. How does God rate one wife good and the next wife bad? The opposite of diligent is slothfulness, and he also that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster. A great waster is a loser. A slothful woman is wasteful by not taking care of things in a timely manner, therefore causing her goods to be damaged. A slothful woman wastes her time and often the time of her friends. A lazy woman puts off a job, saying it can be done tomorrow. God chose to add to his written word the description of a virtuous woman, so we would clearly know one when we met her. The portrait painted here is of this good woman, whom God says is worth much more than priceless jewels. Far above the value of the average wife is that of a diligent worker. A virtuous woman is busy doing constructive activities. She explores business opportunities. She is saving money, making money, and investing money. I came to greatly admire this woman as I studied through her day-to-day activities. I stopped and asked myself over and over, what could I start doing that would make me more of an active helpmeet for my husband? What is your worth? Proverbs 31:10 tells us that a virtuous woman is worth far more than rubies. Are you worth more than precious stones? To God, of course you are, but we are not talking theology. Proverbs 31 tells us that a certain woman engaging in particular activities is worth more than rubies, and it gives a list of things we as women can do to increase our worth in ways that everyone will appreciate. Christian psychology tells us that if we are alive and breathing, we are of good value, and that we just need to believe that, thinking positively, and something good will happen to us. In contradiction to positive thinking, Proverbs 31 gives us a list of positive actions that will raise our worth, not just our self-worth, but our real worth. Self-worth that is based on actual worth is real worth everyone can see. What is amazing and contrary to popular conservative thinking is that the worth of the virtuous woman is largely based on her cottage industry and investments, producing extra income for the family. Wow, who teaches that? But it is true. Sure, the chapter also mentions that she is kind, generous, and gracious, but her character is related in the context of her business ventures. This is a remarkable piece of information. During my lifetime, which has been long, the ladies who are the busiest, the most successful, the most happily married, and who have the best behaved children are ladies who fill their lives with profitable activities, doing things that save money, time, and energy for the family's welfare, or that generate additional income for the family. It's time to step up. Proverbs 31 is my favorite subject in this book. I love to see a woman discover her real worth by spreading her wings and making contribution to her family's finances. When a woman gets a vision of what she can be and how she can truly be a help to her husband, then all the other issues fall into place. Many men are working themselves to death trying to make a living for the family. Attention, helpmeet. It is time to become a real helper. I am not talking about getting a job. When a woman goes out of the home and starts working for another person or company, she becomes someone else's helper. That is a dead end and leads towards family ruin. Don't make that dumb mistake. Rather, I am echoing Proverbs and saying a woman should become industrious if she wants to be of more value than rubies. There is one lady of whom I always think when I speak on this subject. She has many children and still manages to do more than anyone I know. The family runs a farm with milk cows, pigs, sheep, goats, and chickens. So her chores are many and varied. She also brings in an income by watching over, visiting regularly, taking food, cleaning up, etc. for an old, housebound man. Her parents are both old, so she also cares for them. She is too busy to go shopping without a specific purpose, so there is no wasting of her husband's substance. She wisely invests her time, money, and resources so that what comes into the family coffers is not dribbled away. She is gracious and kind. She dresses modestly, but with simple, inexpensive style. Although she is half my age, she is my living example of Proverbs 31. We can't all be like her, but we can let her show us the way. I know another lady who takes photos, edits them, and sells them on the web. While she is making a bundle on the side project, she is also homeschooling a large number of children, keeps a household, and has good meals on the table 3 times a day. I know a bunch of ladies that sell a health product and make major money. Most of this is done at home on social networking. All of these women homeschool their children and are teaching their children ways to make an income at home. Do I hear a pity party coming on? Perhaps you don't know how to do all that hard stuff. Well, these ladies were not born knowing how to do these things either. They learned how. They sought out ways to make or save money. They were aggressive in the areas where they knew they could develop a product. These ladies are functioning Proverbs 31 ladies that have a professional worth that is far above rubies. Just this past week, a young wife really learned to spread her Proverbs 31 wings. She lives in a travel trailer on a small piece of land. Her husband is diligently working to make enough money in hopes of building them a house someday soon. Just down the road from their small piece of steep, shady property is a lovely tract of land with an old trailer on it that appears as if it has not been used for a long time. The sun shines brightly on the hilltop spot, so it caught the young wife's eye. Wouldn't it be wonderful to have that great piece of land? There is a beautiful pasture, an excellent spot for gardening. Such a waste, when her children could be running and playing in the sunshine. So she did what any real Proverbs lady should do. She investigated. First, she looked on the internet and found out who owned the property. After finding the name and number of the people who owned it, they lived out of state. She attempted to call them, but alas, the phone number was no longer in service. Instead of accepting defeat, she decided to investigate further. After a search, she found their obituaries listed along with the funeral home that was used by the grandchildren. Not to be deterred, she found the phone number for the funeral home and gave them a call. They put her in touch with the grandson who had just inherited the property. By God's wonderful blessing, the grandson was hoping to quickly sell the property. Within 2 weeks, the young couple made a deal, and 2 months later they closed on the property and are now repairing it. She considereth a field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. For as long as this young bride lives, she will feel a warm glow of joy every time the memory of this event comes to mind. The success will give her confidence that she can really bless her family. It will give her eyes to see other possibilities, and it will cause her to want to use her time and resources aggressively. Her husband will find satisfaction in the memory that this woman, his very own little lady, found the deal of a lifetime, blessing their family with a great piece of property at a low price. Do you get the idea? There is a young mama in our community who has just started studying how to make cosmetics from natural sources. She doesn't have an income yet, but I can see a shining future coming on. Remember that a wise woman considereth the field. Think about a possible business venture and weigh the ups and downs before stepping into something that might not be productive. A wise woman knows that it takes time, hard work, and a great deal of knowledge and resources for a business to grow into a money-making industry. You will read a list on the next page that gives you some scriptural ideas. These ideas come straight from Proverbs 31. Your business ideas don't need to be big. I know a young wife who sews children's costumes to bring in extra cash. Social media allows her to display her finished costumes for free to a wide audience. She gets orders from all over the country, I know of one young, pregnant mama who babysits and helps homeschool other people's children. She is highly esteemed, and the extra income allows her husband more time with their children. Many wives have a desire to get involved in a ministry of some kind. There is a place for that, but God gives direction on the matter, reminds us of our priorities. Our first and foremost calling as wives and mothers is to please our husband by cooking, cleaning, and teaching our children. When I teach the young unmarried girls, I give them ideas on how they can minister. I tell them how to win the lost, teach children evangelism, help in the pro-life movement, get involved in stopping the sex trafficking industry, or help a missionary family homeschooling their children. My favorite ministry is to become an iMissionary, imissionaries.org. You simply put ads on Facebook and other social media offering free downloads of the Good and Evil book in one of the 44 languages. Ads are easily pulled off our site in any of these languages. One lady wrote and told us she put an ad on Facebook in the Urdu language spoken in India. The ad ran about 3 months. An ad like hers might cost $100. She had a small blog address at the bottom of her ad. Through this one outreach, she had over 60,000 people on her blog discussing the Bible. She had no idea what they were saying, as it was all in the Urdu language. This lady will be a very productive wife, because right now she is a very industrious single gal. Single women should broaden their vision and spend their youth as servants of God. In 1 Corinthians 7:34 says, "There is a difference between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman careth for things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she that is married careth for the things of the world, how she may please her husband." That is not to say a married woman can't make an eternal difference while she is busy being a productive wife. But keep your focus. What about you? What can you do? The possibilities are limitless. Your talents, culture, and environment will provide unique opportunities. A country gal will do one thing, while an apartment-living city dweller will do another. But I know that if you put enough thought into the matter, you will come up with something that utilizes your strength and produces a financially profitable product. Don't let another day pass that you are not learning something that will help you be a productive, industrious helpmeet. A good woman is not a fool. As you read this, don't decide to get on the web and order $100,000 worth of stock, all in the name of being a good woman. You would be portraying a fool instead of the wise, virtuous wife. Don't think you have to go out and buy $40 worth of cloth to learn to sew $170 worth of health care products to sell part-time. Be wise, prudent, and first consider your husband's desires, your options, and your gifts. Remember our letter from Vicky? She could have been cleaning up her yard, fixing the screen door, and tightening up her leaky pipes. It would not have cost anything but her labor. I suggest we all start being good with things that are less glamorous and more practical. Traits of a good woman. Proverbs 31:10-31. Verse 10. A good woman, as described here, is very valuable. There are not many like her. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. Key words: far above. Rare, uncommon, unusual, excellent, unique, precious, matchless. Verse 11. A good woman is honorable, faithful, and chaste. She doesn't do anything or say anything behind her husband's back. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Key words: safely trust. Trustworthy, dependable, inspire, confidence, reliable, honest, deserving. Verse 12. A good woman is trustworthy, genuine, and wise. She does not explode one day and apologize the next. She is good to him every day. She will do him good and not evil all these days of her life. Key words: will do. Constant in her love, unshaken, unmoved, faithful, ceaseless, enduring, unchanged, loyal, permanent. Verse 13. A good woman is willing, eager, hardworking. She looks for tasks that will be an asset to her family. She seeks wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. Keywords: seeketh, worketh, willingly, industrious, hard-working, busy, diligent, patient. Verse 14. A good woman is prudent. She is capable, wise shopper. She is like the merchant ships. She bringeth her food from afar. Keyword: is like, bringeth. Frugal, not wasteful, using economy and good management. Verse 15. A good woman gets up early and serves others. She rises also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. Keyword: riseth, giveth. Self-starter, energetic. Verse 16. A good woman is enterprising. She buys property, plants a cash crop, and multiplies her investments. She is not afraid of getting her hands dirty. She considereth the field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. Key words: considereth, buyeth, and planteth. Enterprising, daring, yet cautious, resourceful. Verse 17. A good woman doth physically labor and is thus strong. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. Key words: girdeth, strengtheneth, physically strong, hard worker. Verse 18. A good woman is competent. She takes stock in her work and is satisfied that she has done things right. She is dependable. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. Keyword: perceiveth. Willing to work long hours. Verse 19. A good woman is willing to do repetitive, boring work. She layeth her hands on the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. Keywords: layeth, hold, willing to do monotonous work. Verse 20. A good woman is benevolent. She gives to those in need. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reaches forth her hand to the needy. Keywords: strengtheneth, reacheth, compassionate, merciful, generous, easy moving by the distresses and sufferings of others. Verse 21. A good woman is confident of how she has provided for her household. It is well outfitted due to her management and hard work. She doesn't wait until the last minute to prepare dinner. A good woman plans and prepares ahead. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. Keywords: not afraid. She made preparations for the future. Verse 22. A good woman is a craftswoman. She is a skilled worker who creates beautiful wall and bed coverings for her house, as well as beautiful clothes for herself. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Keyword: maketh. Has mastered skills of crafts and sewing. Makes dresses with beauty. Verse 23. The good woman's husband has a time and honor to be a ruler. She brings honor to her husband by the way she keeps his domain. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. Keyword: is knoweth, sitteth. Her support helped bring him to his place. Verse 24. A good woman is a merchant. She makes, sells, delivers quality goods. She maketh fine linen, and selleth it, and delivereth goods unto the merchant. Key words: maketh, selleth, delivereth. Organizes, managed, does not pass the work off on others. Verse 25. A good woman is known for her honor and strength of character. Her hard work and good attitude will pay high dividends. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. Keywords: shall rejoice. Not swayed or upset by circumstances, steadfast, valiant. Verse 26. A good woman studies and shares her wisdom and knowledge in order to help others. She uses her information in an agreeable and pleasant manner. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. Keywords: openeth, discerning, thoughtful, gentle. Verse 27. A good woman is conscious of responsibilities. She does not waste her time or other people's time. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Keywords: looketh, eateth not. Duty conscious, reliable, not idle. Verse 28. You will know a good woman by how much her children and husband appreciate her and enjoy her company. Her children arise up, call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Keywords: arises, arise, praiseth. She reaps her pleasant fruit. Verse 29. God describes a virtuous woman as one whose own hard work proves her value. She has won the right to be where she is and have what she has acquired: honor, appreciation, esteem, and love. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Keyword: excellest. Day in and day out, in season and out, she puts forth her creative labor. For that effort, she was named the most worthy of all. Virtue means acting power. It is the strength to affect or improve that which is around you. Verse 30. A good woman is not caught up in looking good. She is conscious of the fear of God in her life. She has lived every day as though she believes she will reap what she has sown. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord shall be praised. Keyword: feareth. Fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Verse 31. A good woman reaps what she has sown, and it is good fruit. The enterprises and business ventures she has put her hand to are profitable. The crafts, goods, and clothes she has made are known to be of excellent quality. Her dwellings and her services are well managed, efficient, and tidy. Her children are honorable and seek God. Her husband has a time and heart to invest in other people's lives because of her being a good helpmeet. A good woman has lots of good fruit. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Key words: give, let, praiseworthy, complimented, approved, deserving, admired, applauded, worthy. A gracious woman retaineth honor. Proverbs 11:16. A wise woman is not pitiful, puny, or whiny. She makes herself confident, capable, useful, and thankful. God's estimation of a virtuous woman. A virtuous woman is a hard-working lady. Proverbs 18:9. He also that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster. A slothful person is a waster. When you need a miracle. When life seems hopeless, instead of moping around, find something to set your mind to. The next story comes from a friend of mine, Erin, who has learned this lesson well. Here is a story taken directly out of her new book, Living Virtuously, Keeping Your Heart and Your Home, by Erin Harrison. When my husband and I met, he had no idea I was a scared and broken young girl. He only saw a funny person who shared his hopes and dreams of wanting a large family, a small homestead, and a way to serve God. He was an honorable young man who had walked with integrity while waiting for his one true love. I, on the other hand, was a used and abused child. Several family members and friends had taken liberties with me when I was young. As a bride, standing in my bright finery, it never occurred to me that what had happened to me as a little girl would come raging through my life and remain there, crippling both me and my beloved for more than 8 horrible years. But it did. Each day was a cloud of tears as I begged him not to go to work, calling him repeatedly over some minor issue until he despaired of not getting his work done, or worse, losing his job. There were nights when I would curl into a tight ball and weep. As far away from him as the bed would allow, I avoided him so much it is amazing that I did conceive each year. As one baby after another came, my emotional state worsened. My days were filled with crying babies, fighting toddlers, cooking, big messes, piles of laundry, cows to milk, and all the other chores of a homestead. I was overwhelmed, and I thought I would surely die. But for my beloved it was worse. He worked long days in the bitter cold only to come home to a distraught wife, 5 children under 5 years old that were crying, hungry, and demanding. There was firewood to chop and bring in, animals to attend, and 1,000 other odd chores. And when he climbed exhausted into his cold bed with his even colder wife, he stared into the darkness and wondered why. This man needed a miracle. He needed divine wisdom to set his home in order. He needed a way to lead his wife to overcome and find her life. My husband is a simple man, slow, steady, hardworking, and steadfast. But after all the years of sacrificial giving, He was running out of hope. Why would God allow this to be his lot? Had he not honored God in his youth? Had he not sought to do the right thing? Had he not a vision of ministry? There seemed to be no end to misery, and there certainly was no loving arm to help ease his daily toil. One day he told me to get out my mom's old camera and start practicing taking pictures. Somewhere in this simple man's heart, God had planted an idea. Woman was not only meant to be a helpmeet and mother, she was meant to be a person who had dreams, challenges, and drives. She was meant to be a Proverbs 31 lady who was full of enterprising adventures and money-making ideas. My husband knew my interest was in art, so the only thing that came to his mind was photography. Maybe I would find an outlet to distract me long enough for him to work 10 hours a day so he could make a living for our growing family. Let the miracle unfold. This busy, homesteading mother got busier. I rushed through my chores, assigning my children small chores to ease the load. For the rest of the day, I took lots of photographs of loved ones. I loved taking photos, and people loved my work. I loved art in every form, whether it was painting, printmaking, drawing, sculpting, or taking photographs. My creativity was explosive. I started a photography business after taking a risk to buy a digital SLR camera. Instead of pulling my hair out in bitterness as I had been doing, suddenly every day was spent taking hundreds of photos. I got a second-hand computer from my dad and started learning Photoshop. This was hard, but a challenge that I knew I had to master. The kids and I would play all day, deciding what kinds of pictures we would take next that would be added to my portfolio. My oldest kid wearing a straw hat or climbing up the big tree in the front yard. The girls dressed in their pretty dresses, looking out the window, teddy bears clutched under their arms. And wonder of wonders, I stopped calling their daddy every day. I stopped with the tears and frustration. I built a good schedule so that I could have a couple hours early in the morning to focus on the computer work before the kids woke up, and a couple hours while they napped. And when Daddy came home, we would run to tell him what we did that day and show him all the pretty pictures Mommy took. I was satisfied as a human being. I was successful, creative, and fulfilled. I stopped dwelling on my fear, hurts, frustration, boredom, and anger. I was too busy growing and changing. Within that 1 year, this sad, broken girl was gone, and in her place was a vibrant young woman, a loving wife, a happy mother, and a money-making entrepreneur. Instead of pulling my husband's soul down, I was giving back. It was a miracle. I fell into my husband's arms with joy and thanksgiving. Finally, the good man was being rewarded for being so loving, kind, and patient. Just like what happened to the virtuous lady in Proverbs 31, money started flowing into our home. The first year, I made $12,000 taking photos of children, families, school graduations, and weddings. The second year, it doubled. The third year, it doubled again. I would get referrals from people who had their photos taken by me and loved my work. I would set up an appointment to meet their family at a park and take my kids along for fun. They would help carry bags and pack the minivan, so we would plan out a picnic and play time around my work. My children had fun meeting other kids their age, and when the other kids would throw fits, we had fun talking about how silly it was. It trained them more than if I stayed home all day fighting against my mind and discontentment. A few years later, the business grew to a 6-figure income, and my husband learned how to take videos at the weddings so we could work as a team. We both stayed home and went to a wedding once a week together, just the two of us. It was like a date. We talked on the way there as we planned the event. This morning, I woke up before daybreak, as I usually do. It is a time I set aside for work that does not interfere with mealtime, homeschooling, and spending time with family. I opened my computer and started looking through hundreds of old photos. Tears began to flow as I thought about the past and how fleeting life can be. There was one photo of the kids toddling around my bare wood floors with mischievous smiles on their faces. Other photos told the stories of the babies smashing birthday cakes with their tiny fists and then stuffing their little mouths. I rejoiced, knowing that I had finally come to appreciate the good that God had given me, and that I had to let go of the evil the devil had sent. During the black years, I felt it would never end. Maybe you didn't bring into your marriage the baggage I did. And maybe your husband is a mean, lazy jerk or even a pervert, but pity, despair, and bitterness will not set you free from your own state of nothingness, lack of productivity, wanting of change, or any real reward. Do you know what I am talking about? Working and never seeing the end of it? It is the everyday grind, the repetitive tasks, the thankless labors, the being tired of just living. I remember how desperate and lonely I was. I lived in blame towards those who had hurt me, or criticizing others who hadn't rescued me. I was unsettled all the time. I felt as if I was sinking on a vast ship of 5 screaming, demanding passengers, with no life vest to save us. None of the children could possibly understand how tired I was. They could not help me, and they could not carry on an intelligent conversation as I so craved. I piled all my needs onto my poor husband, who had no clue how to make me happy. He would come home to a frumpy, crabby woman in tears, desperate to take whatever he had left to give at the end of the day, and I would draw out whatever bit of life was left in him until he could give no more. Before my husband encouraged me to work harder, I was a young mother, handicapped by my own mind. I had no idea that my mind was self-absorbed in pity and frustration, and that my energy was being drained by my bitterness. All those years are gone forever. I am sad that I did not enjoy my babies and the husband of my youth as I should have. It is a miracle that my husband did not pack his bags and leave me. I know I would have if I had been treated the way I treated him. I am ashamed of that time, yet I am thankful that my husband loved me through it. He came to see that all I needed was more to do, not less. And he was right. How could a mother give more? How could she possibly stretch her wings further than the children she was working so hard to tuck under the safety of her wings? I needed structure. I needed something to pour myself into, so I would not get consumed with myself. Proverbs 31 is written for us ladies to take note and follow. It is an instruction manual written to show us how to find our way. We were created to excel. We were created to be virtuous, to be busy in something productive instead of busy moping around like a frump. My children are almost grown, with my oldest only 3 short years from adulthood. As my children move on with their own lives, it is humbling to look back on those years and see how fast they flew by. Each child was given to me as a blank slate. I could have continued sowing frustration and discontentment into the pages of their lives, blaming everyone, bitter at my lot, and putting pressure on my husband to meet my demands. Thank God he freed me of all that. Instead, I worked and taught my children about work. Thankfully, they only remember a hard-working, happy mom who taught them the trade of photography, among other things. Years have passed, and I have not lost a vision of virtue in all that I do. I strive for victory over every circumstance, starring each one with a smile on my face, knowing I will never let myself back into the pit. Every piece of life has been precious, every season a gift. God supplies the grace, and I am grateful I did not give up. Lately, I had a nice conversation with my very mature, sober-minded 11-year-old daughter, who is now taller than I am. I told her about my early morning tears as I looked at the photos of her as a wee baby. I mentioned that many of those years I worked so hard that it seemed as if I did not get to cherish every little mundane thing of life. She looked back at me and said, "Mom, you worked so hard that it makes me want to work hard, and you always said working hard is a good thing. I think we had a lot of fun together working hard." That glorious answer will ring in my mind 50 years from now, when I am all wound down from life, and it will always give me a sense of real accomplishment. From Debi. I know you enjoyed reading Erin's story. I know her, and this story is true. If it can happen to her, it can happen to you. She has written a book full of her life stories, which I find fascinating. Just by reading it, I have become a better housekeeper. Now that is progress.